Welcome to the John Jay College of Criminal Justice Graduate Power Interview Series. I am Ms. Purdie, Director of the Undergraduate Student Services for the Department of Public Management. Here with me today is Mr. Quardear Harris and Dr. Warren Eller. Mr. Quardear Harris is a 2019 alumnus who graduated with a BS degree in criminal justice management. And Dr. Eller is a professor and coordinator of the criminal justice management major. Happy to have you both here with me today.
Thank you for
I
having me.
will begin
Yeah.
with you, Dr. Eller. Tell us about yourself and what motivated you to first be chair of the Department of Public Management and to now serve as the coordinator of the criminal justice management major.
Wow, I thought you said we only had half an hour for this. Let me see if I can be kind of parsimonious.
Okay.
I'm a bit of an accidental academician. I started a life in the public service and working in various organizations, and then found myself in the military during the first Gulf War. When I got out of the military, I wanted to find a way to get back into public service somehow, which led me to an MPA degree of my own and then a PhD. And after a career of serving a couple different places, the opportunity came up at John Jay to join the faculty there. And quite frankly, to join a faculty that was of such high caliber. My colleagues at John Jay are great. And I'm a big fan of being the dumbest person in the room because it always looks good for you. Um, but I jumped on that opportunity, and then unfortunately, as we lost Professor Smart, there was an opening at the criminal justice management program, and I thought that I could at least do a as almost a good job as Professor Smart did in sitting on this program until we found someone really capable who wanted to step in.
Yes, we want to thank Professor Smart for all that he has done for the criminal justice management major, and we really appreciate his service. So now, Mr. Harris, Mr. Quardear Harris, full disclosure, Mr. Harris was one of my advisee students when he was a student here at John Jay. I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and the year you graduated and your current position.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me today. So, my name is Quardear Harris. I'm a proud alumni of John Jay College. I graduated class of 2019. I majored in criminal justice management, double minored in human services and security management, earning a Bachelor of Science with honors. During my academic tenure, I was a CUNY Service Corps member of Cohort 5. I was inducted into the National Criminal Justice Honor Society and the National Society of Leadership and Success, where I served on the executive board. I am the recipient of the Dean's List Achievement Award and CUNY Service Corps Spirit Award. Since graduating from John Jay College, I earned my Master's of Science in Human Resource Management from Stony Brook University. I started my New York City government career with NYC Service AmeriCorps as a City Service Corps member at DCAS, which propelled me into serving as a talent acquisition specialist in the Office of Human Resources at NYC Children.
Great. You've done a lot since you left John Jay. Great. Good to hear that. And now you have a master's degree from Stony Brook?
Stony Brook University. So during the pandemic, I went back to school and I was like, I'm gonna go get a master's. Because I remember when you used to tell me about that. And I was like, Miss Purdy, how I'm gonna pay for this? But if there's a way, there's a will, and I figured it out. So I did 3 terms with NYC AmeriCorps. And being a part of that program, I was able to earn 2 educational grants, and that covered the majority of my tuition at Stony Brook University.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. So now, Dr. Eller, can you tell us a little bit about the criminal justice management major, what it's all about, the type of students that might major in that career, might choose that as a career path?
Sure. And I'm glad you asked that because I think it's one of the areas that we're not as well exposed in the department and really in the college. Criminal justice management isn't just about criminal justice. And I think part of the problem is in academics, we tend to get siloed. And the field of criminal justice tends to be very much about law enforcement. And in public management, which is our home department, we're very much about management. That is, we take a lot of the literature, a lot of the theories that are used in management in general, right? You'll see it in public management, you'll see it in business schools, you'll see it other places. And we apply this to the criminal justice environment. Uh, so we are very much a program that's about running organizations, public organizations, and those organizations happen to have a substantive impact in the field of criminal justice. Now, a lot of people uh, will tend to go there, right? Anybody who's in a public service kind of role could actually benefit because we do lean on that public management theory an awful lot throughout the program. What makes the program unique from our undergraduate program in public administration per se is that we really focus on the criminal justice environment. And that gives it a little flavor that you don't see a lot of other places. And it's certainly because of the dependence on management theory, on human resources, on finance and budgeting. It's very different than what you see in criminal justice programs per se. So I think if you've got interest in management and even moving up the career ladder, so people who are in corrections and just correctional officers would benefit largely from coming into this program, as well as people who are in general law enforcement who are looking at moving up the career ladder into more management positions. One of the things that I like to say when I teach our emergency management students is we're not the place to come to learn to put wet stuff on the hot stuff. We're the place to come that will make the other 90% of your job easier. And it's the same thing when we look at criminal justice, right? We're not going to make you better at dealing with those situations which are criminal justice specific. But what we are going to do is we're going to sharpen all the skills for the 90 to 95% of the work that you actually do during the day.
And students in this major, they can they be both full-time and part-time?
Yes, most certainly. It's really nice. One of the things that drew me to public management in general, and one of the things I love about being in the city, is that we have a great number of in-service students. That is, students who are part-time, who are working, who can bring their experience in from the streets. It's a huge advantage, and quite frankly, I think it forces instructors to be better than they would than if you've just got the traditional students who are coming through. But we certainly have space. And again, I think one of the great things about our program is that what the in-service students bring into the classroom with them benefits everybody.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Harris, why did you choose criminal justice management as your major?
So I went to ASA College. I got my associate's degree in criminal justice. And then I took a little bit of a break. And then I always knew that I wanted to come to John Jay. So this was always like a lifelong dream of mine since I was in high school. And so when I came to John Jay, I was like, okay, I want to do criminal justice management. I want to learn the aspect of management within the criminal justice system. And so it just made sense. And then also from a financial aspect to have my credits carry over into the program. And the best part about it, had I not did that, I would have never met Miss Purdie. So it worked out.
Thank you for that. Now, other than meeting me, what stands out the most to you about getting a degree in criminal justice management?
So I think, for anybody that's thinking about going to John Jay or currently a student at John Jay, you are going to be prepared for the workforce. You're learning from experienced professors, people who are currently serving in the fields that you desire to go in. They're going to give you that background, experience that they have. Like you're able to have those one-on-one conversations. You can pick the brains of your professor to really, determine if that's the route that you want to go. Do you really want to work in that field? And so I think that's an opportunity before you get too fully invested in your degree to really figure out if that's what you want to do. Because if it's not what you want to do, then John Jay has a plethora of other majors. And so, for me, it was just very important that I market myself in three different areas. So I'm a strong advocate for, Students definitely picking up a minor if you're unable to be a double major student. And so for me, that's why I double minored in human services and security management. And then my major is in criminal justice management because I wanted to be able to have different areas of opportunities when it came to employment. And so, having that on my resume, just really helped me out in the workforce. And then, of course, John Jay has a strong name within, New York, but not only just in New York, worldwide. Everybody knows John Jay. And so people that are working at different organizations will see that on your resume, and that's an indicator like, okay, this person went to John Jay. They were prepared to be a fierce advocate for justice. They had that foundational knowledge. They were taught well by the people that are working in certain fields. So, I wouldn't change my experience at John Jay for the world. Truth be told, I thought I was going to come there and just fly through and just get my degree. But, as I said, God had other plans, and I went there and accomplished so much more than I intended to do.
Okay, great. Dr. Eller, what are some of the challenges that students face when they're enrolled in college per se, or even choosing a criminal justice management as their major?
I think one of the biggest problems students face, and it's exactly what was just mentioned a minute ago, is the plethora of choices that you've got in front of you. Right? It's a tough question to look at somebody when they're starting an educational path and say, what do you want to do when you grow up? Who do you want to be 50 years from now? And I think one of the reasons I went into this public service field had a lot to do with my core values. And the nice thing about it, and as we hear here too, criminal justice management degree, right? This subfield of public administration isn't just limited to the realm of criminal justice. It may be very well suited for that, but this is a skill set that can take you across the public sector. So one of the things that I liked about it coming out of the public sector before I went to college was the fact that it gave me a lot of options and it gave me a lot of places where I could really practice my craft. I think one of the other big challenges, and we see it especially at John Jay, where we've got a lot of in-service students, is dealing with time management. If you're a traditional student, one of the problems you have is all of a sudden there's nobody else keeping your clock. And if you're an in-service student, all of a sudden there's too many people keeping your clock. And one of the things that's tough is you're doing a lot of reading, and it doesn't seem like it's a lot of work. You look at it and just say, well, I got to go to class twice a week, but you also have to have 9 hours outside the classroom for every hour you're putting in inside the classroom. So to really be able to manage that time, and especially for students who are under the gun with something else, where you may have work pressures, where there's always a critical deadline, where you've got to make sure something gets done, because at the end of the day, that's what's buying the ramen noodles that you're feeding yourself with in between textbooks. And I think those are probably two really big challenges that students face when they come.
It's great. Mr. Harris, in our advising sessions, you oftentimes discuss with me some of the challenges that you were faced with as a student. Would you mind sharing some of those with us here today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, coming to John Jay as a new student, it was overwhelming. You walk through the doors, you look to your left, you look to your right, and it's like this big campus, and it's so easy to be lost and feel like you're just an ample ID number. And so for me, it was just really important to be proactive and make myself known and find my community. I remember, John Jay definitely does like the new student orientation, and my mother went to the parent one, and Dr. Dara Byrne was there. And, I remember when I first started, I told my mother, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this. I feel like dropping out. I don't know where to go to get help or resources. And she told me, go find the lady, Dr. Byrne. And so that's what I did. I went and I found her, and I went to her office, and I was like, I need to see Dr. Byrne. I will sit here and wait until she's available, and we set up an appointment, and the rest was history. And then she told me about Miss Purdy, and then I went and I found Miss Purdy. And from there I was able to develop these relationships. So anytime that I had an issue or a problem and something was going on, I knew that I could go to Dr. Byrne. I knew that if she wasn't available, I could go to Miss Purdy. So I think for me, students need to just find their home, find their community, take advantage of the resources on campus, and know that you are not alone. It may feel like a big, lonely, scary place because you don't know anybody, but you have to step up and advocate for yourself and be outspoken and bold and let people know that you are serious and you are committed to your education, and that's why you are here. And I think that that was something that you and Dr. Byrne noticed about me very quickly. I was serious. I wasn't going to take no for an answer. I came here on a mission, which was to fulfill my high school dream of coming to John Jay and graduate from John Jay. And that little boy from, 2008 didn't know what John Jay was, but I stand here today as a testament of John Jay that I know what John Jay is. And I always carry that at the core of who I am, and everybody knows that. I will shout it to the heavens. I graduated from John Jay College. It's not easy, but it's worth it when you make it to the finish line.
Thank you. Yes, you certainly did find Dr. Byrne and you practically lived in our offices. And I think that's very important, as you say, to make those relationships with people, with the deans, and with your advisors and department chairs. So that's great. Thank you. Dr. Eller, you mentioned a little bit about this before, but what skills and knowledge do students obtain when they get a criminal justice management degree?
Well, that's another big question. You keep asking me these big questions. So let me sort of see if I can parse this out a little bit because there's a couple things that are really important. One is learning about theories of people. That is, we learn not just about motivation, we learn not just about what drives people, but we learn about interactions with people. And in criminal justice realm, that's everything from what drives an employee to what helps de-escalate crises. So that's one set of skills that we learn. The second set of skills that we learn are those that are in the HR realm, the human resources, right? That is, what are the rules that govern the relationships that are going on here with everybody involved in the organization? What are the rules with the organization? And what are the tools that you have at your disposal to deal with these? And then three are the managerial ones. And those are the skills that we talk about what we need to track as far as performance, what tracking performance means to outcomes, what we need to be able to do when we start looking at data. There's a great line out there. People say statistics lie, and being a guy who's now on my third edition of my methods book, I like to say no people lie with statistics. Data are tricky. And one of the problems we wind up with in the social sciences, especially, is that the world lives through their N of one, their one observation across time. And when we make decisions, especially decisions in the public behest, we do it based on aggregates of data. So it really, really requires some real understanding of how data aggregate, what happens with data when they aggregate. And finally, we spend a lot of time talking about ethics, as Mr. Harris brought up, right? We educate fierce advocates for justice. And part of that means understanding your ethics and your morals and your values and those of the organization and those and the ways that you can combine those things for different types of outcomes, whether those outcomes be for ways to control organizational decision making without having to have your hands on it, to how you ensure that people's behavior is going to be what it should be when you don't have the ability for direct oversight. So I think those are sort of the large groups of skills that we talk about.
Thank you. Mr. Harris? What do you know now that you wish you had known when you chose your major, criminal justice management, and you decided to come to John Jay?
Um, that's a great question. I mean, honestly, I don't wish that I would have known anything because my story and the way that it was able to be cultivated to accomplish all the things that I've done probably wouldn't have never played out the way, that it had, as I mentioned earlier. I just intended to come here and fly through the program. And so to be able to accomplish all the things that I did and, be able to have my mother sit there as my plus one, and to witness me graduate and be honored by Dr. Byrne and, receive the Dean's List Achievement Award, all of that was just a humbling experience. And it was a testament of my tenacity and my hunger and my drive to come to John Jay and really take advantage of everything that was available for me. And, I'm just a proud alumni that graduated from here.
Okay, also tell us a little bit. I want to know about your current position as a talent acquisition specialist with the New York City.
So yeah, I work at NYC Children, and so I work in the Office of Human Resources, and part of that is basically finding the talent for the agency. And so that's very important that we find people who are committed to the mission of NYC Children, who want to make a difference in the lives of children within New York City and support families and, definitely provide the resources to keep children and families together. So we're always recruiting for people who are passionate about this work. NYC Children is a social services focused agency. And so for me, me and my team, we play a great role because we are the face of the agency. And so we're out in the streets in different communities week after week, attending different job fairs, resource fairs, promoting our employment opportunities, and recruiting people to come and work for the agency. I think there's a lot of misconception about NYC Children, but you can't let that stop you from coming to work for the city or work for NYC Children. You have to come into this agency and see for yourself the phenomenal work that we're doing, all of the changes that have been implemented at this agency. And definitely you have to have a drive to want to work with children and families. And so for me, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to support our divisions with their recruiting uh recruiting needs. We have 19 divisions. And so each division has different needs. And so my team, we have to meet those needs. We have to fill the vacancies for these divisions. And so for me, I've been able to, initiate a lot of initiatives. And so one of the things that we're doing now at NYC Children is we are meeting the people where they are, which means that we're going into the communities. We're bringing our hiring managers to you. We're changing that notion that you have to come into Manhattan and do everything because everybody thinks that you have to come into Manhattan and do everything. And so we're coming. We're coming to your community. There's no excuse why you can't come to our hiring event, show up and interview and possibly land a conditional job offer and, become either a child protective specialist, a special officer, or youth development specialist. These are great positions. They are union jobs with union benefits, and we're always hiring for those positions. So if anybody's looking to work with children and families, this is the agency to come and do it with.
So have you come to John Jay to do any recruiting?
So I'm glad you asked that. I always come back home to John Jay. and recruit students. I was fortunate enough to work with Christina. I actually came there and I did 2 information sessions talking about those 3 positions. We did some pre-employment screening where students were actually pre-qualified, and then they were later invited down to headquarters to interview for those positions. I also was able to do like an on-site hiring event where I brought hiring managers directly to John Jay. So it's always a honor and a privilege for me to work with John Jay and come back and give back to those students. Because I remember being one of those students, not knowing what I was going to do, what type of career I wanted, not being sure. And so as an alumni, it's my duty to come back and give back to the generation that's coming behind me. And so there's no other better way than to do that because I'm in a position to recruit and get people through the door to come work for the city of New York.
Thank you. Dr. Eller, can you answer this question? Why major in criminal justice management?
Well, I think there's two answers to that, right? There's the personal need and there's the public need. And one of the things that we really need in this country right now is we need criminal justice reform. And that starts with having some of the creative minds that are coming out of our program in key decision making positions. And that's an opportunity that we provide. And if one of the things that's bothering you when you look at the national news is the way the criminal justice system works, this is the first step in fixing that. Right? You can complain about things all you want, or you can do things. And one of the things that we like are students who do things. Um, the second is the personal reason. For me, the reason I went into the world of public service was because I was taught from a young age that giving back was one of the best things that people can do. And I think that if one of your personal goals is to be able to give back to the society that you live in, that you have thrived in, that the criminal justice management major is really the place to be able to do that. It's an opportunity to treat disadvantaged people as human beings as opposed to numbers. And it's a place where you can make your communities safer through the work that you do every single day.
Well, that completes our interview for today. I want to thank both of you for being here. You have given us some very invaluable information that we can use and share with our students. I ask everyone to tune in next time where we will be featuring a student from the fraud examination and financial forensics major. Thank you again, both of you.